Hello, and welcome to another economic and industry update brought to you by Greenbrier's marketing team. I am Mallory Moran, and I'm joined by Jay Carter.
Thanks for having me, Mallory.
Let's start with a look at the overall economy. Jay, what are you seeing?
Overall, the economy appears to be normalizing, really. On one hand, headline inflation continues its downward trend, which improves income and spending, and the labor market is still positive with the unemployment rate hovering around 3.7% for the last 3 months. However, that low inflation as well as strong job market is why the Federal Reserve didn't suggest lowering interest rates during its first meeting of 2024, and elevated interest rates are continuing to weigh on the economy. Now, overall, GDP was up last quarter, 3.3%, but it's forecasted to grow at about 1.4% for 2024.
Now, let's transition to the rail industry. Recently, the industry reported fourth quarter 2023 railcar orders, deliveries, and backlog. Roughly 4,000 railcars were ordered, which is down from the previous quarter, but keep in mind the industry had already booked 38,000 units that year. Deliveries were very slightly down, but virtually flat at just under 11,000 units. And now the industry backlog has declined to its lowest point in a year, and it's just about 52,000. So, Jay, help us put these industry numbers into context. What are you seeing in rail loadings?
So, North American rail traffic was down about 2.1% in 2023. And in 2024, it's expected that rail traffic will be relatively flat at about 1% for the year with modest intermodal growth. However, I do predict that the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates at some point during this year. And this will have a positive impact on consumer behavior in terms of housing as well as automotive. And ultimately, this will provide some tailwinds for rail traffic towards the latter part of this year into the first part of next year. So, rail velocity improved roughly 3.2% in 2023, and this is near the 5 year average, with uneven service gains expected by railroads in 2024. Rail cars in storage remains near the cycle lows, with roughly 20% of the fleet being idled, sustaining railcar lease rate momentum. These lease rates are also supported by the inflationary impacts of steel prices that we saw during COVID and post COVID.
So, Jay, what can we expect this year?
There's plenty to look forward to in the rail market. Regarding box cars, we're anticipating roughly 38,000 box cars that will retire in the coming years, which will fuel an enormous demand for these rail cars as they are replaced. An increased chemical plant capacity coming online in the coming years also will support large covered hopper demand. Even in areas with less anticipated growth, such as gondolas and some auto racks, Greenbrier is well positioned to lead due to our product differentiation in these railcar types. But really, Mallory, the biggest news may be the disruptions at the Suez and Panama canals. You'll recall that when the pandemic shifted freight traffic to the East Coast from the West Coast, much of that was picked up by trucking. Now, these complications in oceanic shipping are expected to shift freight back to the West Coast, generating an increase in intermodal activity there.
Any final thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, Mallory. So, as the economy copes with softer and normalized activity, we will see this reflected in rail activity as well. New rail car demand will float around the replacement level of rail cars being retired. Rail service will likely not be as strong as it was last year, and rail cars in storage should remain near cycle lows in 2024.
Thanks, Jay, and thank you for joining us. We hope you found this information valuable. Be sure to check out next quarter's edition.